The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on the Premium Credit Program. This is Cole Cummins at Alaska Public Entity Insurance, and I'm the Loss Control Manager. And before we get started with the presentation, I always like to go over the webinar controls, make sure everyone is familiar with them, how to use them, and how to ask questions if need be. It's pretty simple. You should see that little control panel there with the orange arrow. Go ahead and click on that orange arrow. It'll open up a question box, and from there you can type questions throughout the presentation as they come up, and then we'll have a question and answer time at the end. And hopefully we can get everyone's questions answered. This shouldn't take too long. I'm guessing somewhere around half hour, 45 minutes, something like that, so we should have plenty of time for questions at the end. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started then. Today we are going over the Premium Credit Program. Kind of what I want to talk about is how it benefits your organization, how to fill it out, how to do the application, and kind of the meat and potatoes of it all, and how it really can save you some money. If you're new to APEI's membership, this is definitely a program you want to look into and take advantage of. And if you've been with APEI for a while, I hope that you have been taking advantage of this program and saving some money on the insurance premiums for your school or municipality. My kind of goal and my hope of the presentation today is to show you how much you can save on the upcoming renewals, how simple it is to fill out the application and to complete the program, and that's kind of it. I get a lot of people every year that say it takes too much time, or it's not worth my trouble to fill this all out, and I'm hoping by going through this, and at the end of it, you'll realize it's not that hard, and there's a lot of money to be saved here. We get some members that save quite a bit, and you'll see throughout the presentation how to save, what it's all about, and things like that. Just remember that it is based on the amount that you save is based on the premium that you pay. So if you're a small little charter school who doesn't pay much in premium, the premium reduction that you'll receive from APEI won't be as large as, say, if you're the city of Kenai or something like that, who will receive a larger reduction. But as far as the ratio between the premium and the reduction, it's pretty similar there. So just keep that in mind, that some members could save, thousands more than others. So, but even still, there's thousands of dollars that could be potentially on the table here, and let me show you how to take advantage of it all. Okay, the purpose of the premium credit, let's talk about that first. 4 main things. The first one, and probably the biggest one for me, is to reduce injuries and illnesses. And by reducing injuries and illnesses, we not only make a safer workplace, but it leads to better loss histories, which then helps with future workers' compensation premiums. Next one is reducing property losses. And this is another thing that the Premium Credit Program tries to accomplish. And this is done by having annual or semi-annual or quarterly safety inspections. And I got a pretty handy checklist. I'll show you here in just a little bit. It kind of just walks you through the building, what to look for, look for those hazards, and then obviously once you correct them, you got a safer building, and it won't, hopefully it won't give you any trouble there. The other thing that I recommend is having folks having their sprinkler systems inspected. And for a lot of us, those are required anyway. But that's a great way to reduce property losses. Next one is to make safety a priority. This is a win-win for employees and employers. Not only does, from the employee side, it makes them, they realize that the employer cares about their safety and their overall, well-being at work. It's good for the employer because they don't have employees out on workers' comp or on time loss, where they might actually have to hire a temporary employee to fill that position, or maybe pay overtime for other employees to fill the gap that was left by that injured employee. And the last bullet point is just really icing on the cake, and that's to reduce and to lower insurance costs. And that's what it's all about in this premium credit program. And that's true for workers' comp, general liability, as well as property. So all the major lines, there's some reductions to be had. And let's go over the program here next, and let me show you how to do it. So there's 4 types of activities included in the premium credit program. And we'll go over these individually on their own slides, but here's the main 4. Active safety committees, self-inspections and audits. So that's going out and inspecting your facilities, as well as an audit of your safety program. The third one is the employee training. This is HR training, safety training, risk management training, pretty much training that's going to reduce claims. And then the last one is the sprinkler discounts. And that's a pretty big one, especially for like a school or something where they already have the sprinklers there in the facility, and then they have their annual inspections done. By sending in the sprinkler documentation or the sprinkler inspection report, there's some savings to be had on the property side of things. Okay, so the first one, active safety committee. To receive the full credit, which there's partial credit as well, but to receive the full credit on the safety committee side of things, the requirement is to hold at least 4 safety committee meetings a year. So it's quarterly. I prefer a monthly myself, but it's only 4, at least 4. We also require minutes to be taken. So we like to see what was discussed there, what you talked about, whether that was, looked at previous injuries, other kind of claims you had, ways to reduce losses in the future, things like that. So the minutes need to be there, as well as provide a list of topics that you discussed. So if you talked about your safety program, or if you talked about, hey, I just was reading about OSHA updated the HAZCOM program or something like that. Maybe we should look and see if our hazard communication program is updated and current. So that would be the topics that you discussed there. And let's look at my active safety committee. This is just a sample of the committee meeting minutes. So you don't have to use this form, but it's just a good tool to kind of show you the kind of stuff I'm looking for here. Location, so that could be city of Soldotna. Meeting date. I recommend a chairperson. I really do think that it's important to have someone that runs the committee. And you can get the other things, secretary and things like that, but definitely by having a chairperson who kind of organizes it all is important. As far as employees and management, I like to see a good blend of both of those. I think it's really important. One thing is I like to see more employees than management present, because employees really are the ones who see what's going on out there and who are actually doing all the majority of the work. So they need to be present. However, management has to have a presence as well. So the employees that are on the committee, they realize that it's not just a bunch of employees. They realize that management is there and actually has the ability to maybe make some of these changes. So a good blend, employees and management. Agenda items, you got to have an agenda. Without an agenda, you kind of go in there and just kind of shoot from the hip. By having an agenda, people know what's going to be discussed. They can think about different ideas to discuss and different ways to keep it on track. So an agenda is important. Previous minutes, was there any corrections here? Old business, new business to discuss. Was there any hazards that have been reported since the last safety meeting? And then review any accident and inspection reports. So every quarter I send out the dashboards and the loss runs. I think it's a great thing for the safety committee to look at those and to say, okay, here's the claims that we've had in the last couple months. Here's some of the trends that we see, and let's review those and see what we can do to stop that from happening. So that's what a sample minutes looks like. You don't have to use this particular form, but something similar would be good. The credit for safety committees is applied towards workers' comp and general liability premiums. And so those are two big ones there. Workers' comp is a huge portion of everyone's premiums there, and also the GL as well. Speaking of the dashboards I was talking about earlier, they look something similar to this, and most of you probably have received these. And if you don't receive the dashboards and you would like to, give me a call. Let me know if you want to discuss these. But I created these two here, and I wanted to go over them because this kind of gives us an example of what's going on out there. And this is total APEI, so this is all our schools and our municipalities. When you look at the number on the left here, number of workers' compensation claims, so slip and falls are 23%, strains 27%. So those two take almost, a good chunk of half of it right there. So if we can just contain slip and falls and strains, we'll be sitting pretty. Other over here, that could be things like bloodborne pathogens, chemical inhalation. I was looking at some other ones. It could be a police officer getting bit by someone they're trying to detain, or even a teacher getting hurt by a student, something like that. So there's lots of those. Those are kind of the miscellaneous ones. Struck as well, cut. Vehicle accidents, only really 3%, but those ones can be pricey as well, which you can see over here on the right side, which is the cost of the claims. Here again, you see slip and falls as well as strains, the two big ones, and they take up a huge portion, about 2/3 of the cost of workers' compensation claims. So there again, if we can look at slip and falls and say, okay, 90% of our slip and falls happen during the winter time. Let's make sure we get our folks those ice grippers. Let's make sure we're salting the sidewalks, the parking lots. Let's make sure we're reminding everyone when you get out of your vehicle in the wintertime, always keep a point of contact. Or when you're getting in your truck, make sure you're holding on to the door handle, things like that. So here's just the two pie charts I wanted to show you, mostly to show you that slip and falls and strains. If we can figure those two out, we're pretty much cutting our claims in half there. And then that's what I wanted to say too, was on the strains. That's lifting things and other ergonomic type injuries and stuff. So there's some tools there. And what was the other one here? Oh, it was the vehicle one. Okay, yeah. So that gives you just a little bit of a snapshot of the claims that we have for APEI's total book of business, and the ones that I try to work on with our members. Okay, so after the safety committees, the next one is the self-inspection and audits. And here's that checklist I was talking about earlier. Most of you are familiar with this, and all of this stuff is in the loss control manual. This form is as well. Self-inspections and audits kind of gives you the reason why we do it, getting ready for OSHA, making the workplace safer, things like that. And then here's the checklist. It's the semi-annual fire safety self-inspection checklist. And most of you currently use this already, and it is used, and to receive the credit for it, it's currently only on buildings that are valued at $400,000 and above, but I recommend it for most buildings as well, even under that valued amount. But some of the things that we're looking at in this inspection checklist are the sprinkler systems, fire alarms, fire doors. Are the fire doors kept in good condition? Are they kept open somehow through a wedge or some other hook or chain or lock? Fire doors are supposed to be able to shut on their own or be kept closed so that it doesn't so it can contain the fire and keep it from spreading. So fire doors are important. Fire extinguishers, are we doing our monthly checks on those like OSHA requires? So we look at that in the inspection report here. Heating and cooking equipment, that's if we're a school or perhaps a break room at the municipal offices. Electrical hazards. One thing I see a lot of is us not doing a lot of inspections on cords. I see a lot of extension cords out there that are cut up, nicked up, or maybe they're missing their ground plug. Just they pulled it out, and so there's just 2 prongs now instead of the third, so they can fit it into certain things. Without that ground plug, it's not effective. So we have to get rid of it, and so I see a lot of bad cords out there. So this is just a nice tool to look at your facility. Combustibles away from the portable heaters and stuff like that. Especially in offices, you see a lot of offices that have those little portable heaters, and you keep that next to a bunch of combustible material or paper, and they accidentally get knocked over. We could get ourselves in some trouble there. So that's the form there. I won't go through the whole thing, but if we do those on each facility that we have that's valued over $400,000, there's some credit applied to the property premiums. And then the second form on here is the Management Safety Program Self-Audit. And this is just to analyze the safety program that we already have. So say I'm the city of Ketchikan, and I have a safety program, and I just go through this self-audit to make sure that my safety and health program have the following elements in them. Do we conduct safety training? Do we have a return to work policy? Things like that. Do managers conduct or attend department safety meetings? I was thinking about a city I did a few years ago, and we had all employees, all supervisors, but we didn't have the city manager. And it was kind of like, oh man, I wish the city manager would have been able to attend, because it would have made it look really good for all staff there to see the city manager. Now, I do a lot of trainings where the city managers or the school superintendents are present. So, but that one in particular, it was like, man, I wish they would have been here. It would have, sent a nice little message to all staff. Anyway, so here's just some things to look at in your safety program. Do supervisors perform periodic safety inspections of their department? Well, now they can, because I just am going to give you that self-inspection checklist. So that's 2 good forms right there, 2 good checklists to look at that are applied towards your property premiums. Employee training, that's the big one. This is the one that really can give you some benefit on workers' comp and general liability premiums. And how it works is to receive the full credit for employee training. The formula is pretty simple. It's each employee must have 12 hours of training for the year. So that's pretty much just 1 hour per month. Now, for some of us, that's pretty easy to achieve, like police and fire and things like that. Those guys are getting hundreds of hours. But some of the other folks, administrative people or office workers, maybe it's a little bit harder to get them to receive those 12 hours. But we still, here at APEI, feel like there's still potential for office workers or others to get injured. It could be ergonomic injuries and things like that, first aid or whatever it is. So to get the full credit, so it's 1 hour per employee per month, or 12 for the entire year. And the type of training we're looking at here is safety training. So that could be how to use a fire extinguisher, bloodborne pathogens, slip and falls, hazard communications, things like that, general office safety. Next one is human resources training, and this could be harassment and discrimination awareness, Family Medical Leave Act, hiring and firing. Actually, one that Carlene's working on right now, and I really think that all supervisors could really benefit from this one. She's working on a new manager's boot camp. She's been doing a lot of training lately for supervisory training. And a lot of these folks, seasoned supervisors as well as new supervisors, are saying, man, if I only had this training 5 years ago, my life would have been so much better. So she's making up a new manager's boot camp. And I'm telling you, it's something that you want to keep your eyes on here in the future when she'll be providing that training. Risk management training as well. So any type of risk management training, or just training that's going to reduce a claim in some fashion. And then the last one here is online training. And I'm hoping that all of you are familiar with our 2 free online training providers, Target Solutions for our municipal members, as well as Safe Schools for the school members. There's hundreds and hundreds of courses on safety, HR, risk management, driving, all that kind of stuff. Lots of good courses out there. And as far as a sign-in sheet or what I'm looking for in regards to documentation for training, it's something as simple as this. And you don't have to use my form, but just something similar. So who the trainer was, what the date was, what the topic was, who attended the training, and what department they're from. And one thing that actually I do need as well, and I guess it's not on this form, is the length of the training. So was it a 1-hour course? Did you attend a OSHA 10 hours? So it took 10 hours. So just the length of the course here would be good. And I provide these for all the trainings that I do. I just bring these right out to the member, and then we have the folks sign up for this, and so they get the credit for it there. Okay, so employee training. Sprinkler discounts is another big one. It's a really, really an easy way to save some money on your property premiums. So what we require is that you have an annual inspection done, and there's plenty of inspection companies out there for sprinklers. A couple that come to mind: Simplex Grinnell, Yukon Fire Protection, Taylor, Frontier Fire Protection, any one of those guys. They all do great work. So they have to come out, do the inspection, and then they send me the report, and it has to show, the report has to show that the sprinklers are in good working condition. So if you have the annual sprinkler inspection done and the report says they don't work or they're in bad working condition, then I wouldn't give you the credit. But if they're in good working condition like they should be, then you will receive a credit. And this is a big one. I want to say I think it's 13% off of your property premiums for having the sprinkler discount here. So that's a large one that a lot of our folks take advantage of, especially when you're already required to do it, maybe by the state already. So that's an easy one, sprinkler discounts. The program forms, this is what I'll be sending out. I'm hoping tomorrow I'll send it out to all my loss control contacts, as well as all of you who attended the training today. The first one is the application, and this is in the loss control manual again, and it's all fillable on there for you. Kind of goes over the premium credit program, the 4 things we need to do: safety committee, self-inspections, employee training, sprinklers. April 15th, this is when the documentation and the application is due by. So it's happening next month. So that's kind of why I wanted to get this webinar done now, so we could get things rolling, because there's not a lot of time left to send this documentation in. Here's the application, real simple. The member name, who in your organization is in charge of the loss control or safety activities. It's probably you if you're listening to this webinar. If there's someone else you want to be included as well in your city or school, just mark them here and let me know. Make sure it's all dated and signed there. Active Safety Committee credit worksheet. These don't have to be filled out. This is just more as a reference tool for you, because if you already send me your documentation on your safety committee meetings, I'll have that as well. But here's the topics and accomplishments, activities, things like that. The next one is self-inspection worksheet. Feel free to fill this out. Facility name, APEI building ID number. That's not real too important to me. It's whatever you want to call it. Facility name, it could be City Hall or whatever. Date of the self-inspection and the observations and corrections that you did. Again, this is just for you. This doesn't have to be filled out to receive the credit for the building inspections. And then the last one here is the self-audit worksheet. I do like this one filled out to tell me who was involved on the management team from that safety program self-audit. And then finally, the employee training credit. This is a nice way, a form I created here. This is a nice way to tell me who the employee was, what course they took, when they took it, and how long the course was. Again, you don't have to use this form. If you have your own spreadsheet, please feel free to go ahead and send that in to me. And just one thing I do like is I do like it when folks send me a nice spreadsheet instead of everything handwritten out, because then it takes me a lot of time to figure out different people's names and spelling and all that other kind of stuff. But I'll do it. I'll go through it. So just send over what you have. So that's the premium credit application. The next one actually has nothing to do with the premium credit program, but I just want to make sure everyone is aware of the safety equipment and training grant. This is my favorite thing that we do, and it's just free money for safety equipment. And so here's kind of what it's all about. Here's how it works. So based on your total premium, members can receive up between $1,000 and $5,000. This is annually, so every year. And it's not calendar year, it's based on a policy year, so July 1 through June 31st. So every year, and you can give me a call and ask what your amount is, but every year you can get at least $1,000 towards ice grippers or fire extinguishers, high visibility clothing, ergonomic desks, pretty much anything you can think of that, and you can explain to me that it's going to reduce a claim somehow, it'll qualify. Now, it is a reimbursement grant, so you have to purchase the equipment first and then fill out this application here and then send me the receipt. And it's pretty simple here. You just fill out, describe the product and why you think it's going to make your workplace safer, total cost, the grant amount you're requesting, and then signature and date, things like that. We do actually get quite a few of our members who don't utilize this free money. And I know that in the past year, you've spent over $1,000 somewhere on safety. So this should be something you're doing annually. And most of you are, but just make sure that you don't forget about this one. The safety equipment and training grant is due by the end of the year, so end of June, or end of the policy year, so end of June. So just keep that in mind. Let's see here. So we're kind of wrapping things up here. It's like I said, it's not a real in-depth thing, but I really just wanted to show you what it was all about, how simple it is to complete. Most of the stuff you're already doing anyway. So some things to remember. The application must be submitted by April 15th. And that's when I have to have the information. A lot of my members, or our members, send this stuff throughout the year. So starting May, June, or July, or whatever, they just start sending every time they had a training or a sprinkler inspection or a facility inspection. They'll just send it to me, and I have a folder created for that member. Some members like to send out a packet, or some members even a booklet. They send quite a bit of information, and they send it in April, which is fine too. So however you want to do it, if you want to have the big booklet and send it in, that's great. But if you don't feel like you can do that, or spend too much time in April putting it all together, just send the stuff throughout the year. Supporting documentation must be included in your application. And that's important. So I got to have the safety committee minutes. I got to have that inspection and audit checklist, as well as the training, sign-in sheets, and what the course was and things like that. Without the documentation, you can't receive the credit. So that's a big one. One thing that I do want to point out is that there's definitely the ability for partial credit. So if you don't get the full 12 hours of training per employee, or you don't conduct those facility inspections for each building over the 400,000, or if you don't do 4 safety committee meetings in the year, there's still the partial credit available. So if all of your employees only did 6 hours of training a year, you would receive half of that possible reduction, which, don't get me wrong, that's still a reduction in the total premium. So some folks say, it's not worth my time, I can't get the full credit. Remember, there's definitely the ability for partial credit, and a lot of our members do get partial credit. So if you're one of those folks that say, it takes too long, I can't do it, you don't have to do the whole thing, but just send in what you got so I can give you credit for it. Let's see here. I was thinking about police and fire for some of our municipal members. Those guys do hundreds of trainings, and gals do hundreds of trainings or hours of training. Teachers, bloodborne pathogens, some like child restraint type stuff that they have to do to comply with the state Department of Education. That stuff counts. Anyway, those kind of required courses that you already have to do, just send over those to me, and so I can give you credit for it. So some folks say, I don't want to go out of my way to do this. You don't have to, but just send in the documentation that you already have so I can give you the credit. One thing actually, as we wrap up here that I forgot to mention was at the end of the renewal period and the start of the new renewal year, what we do is I create a breakdown of how much money you've saved on each line of coverage by utilizing this premium credit program. And this is really a neat tool. It shows you how much you saved in comp, property, general liability, and so then you can take it to your city council or school board and say, hey, remember I told you we were going to save a bunch of money on our premiums? Here's the amount. We saved $20,000 or whatever the amount was for your district or municipality, and then you can say all the training we did is not only kept our workplace safer, but it saved us a bunch of money there. And when we talk about savings, I kind of save this to the end just to really get you guys excited. We're talking about some really good savings here. For general liability, it's up to 10% off the total premium, and that's if you get the full credit, of course. Workers' comp, this is a big one, 15% off of workers' comp, and then it's 3% for property by doing those self-inspections. And then I already told you the sprinklers are 13% off property. So some huge savings to be had here. Unfortunately, a lot of our members don't utilize this program because they say it takes too much time. But when you start looking at what does 15% off our workers' comp premium look like, that's a huge number. It could easily, in some cases, pay for an employee to put this all together. So I just want to make sure everyone is aware of the program, the benefits of it, and the savings that can be had. We get probably, I think we have 75 members, and we probably have between 10 and 15 that get the full credit, and we probably get about half of our members who don't even utilize the program at all. So I'm hoping by going through this and showing you some numbers that you guys will be able to take advantage of it. And that's the end of the presentation I have today. I want to open up for questions now. Anything you got regarding the premium credit program? It's pretty simple. Just click on that orange arrow on your screen. Should open up that question box. Type in any questions you have. Or if you'd rather give me a call, that's fine too. Of course, I just realized I didn't put my phone number or email on this page, but give me a shout. Any questions you have, just remember that it's April 15th is when the application is due. So before we close here, I wanted to let everyone know that this was recorded and it will be on our website as well. If you have any questions, give me a shout anytime. If you'd like the slides of the presentation, just let me know. Send me an email or put it in the question box, and I'll be sure to send over the slides so you can have them there. Well, thanks everyone for attending today. I don't see any questions. So what we'll do is I'll put this up on the website probably this afternoon, and I'll be sending out the premium credit application as well as the other documents that we talked about. I'll be doing that tomorrow or maybe this afternoon. We'll see. So if you have any questions once I send those out, please give me a call, and hopefully we can, especially in the times right now when we're looking at some significant budget cuts and having to have some serious reductions, I couldn't think of a better way to save some money than by completing this program. So thanks for everyone for attending today. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. All right, take care.